Hello Cancer, welcome to Monarch Intuition, and today I'm going to be doing your October 2022 mid-monthly check-in reading for you. So if you're new to my channel, what I like to do is I like to pull one major arcana to see the energy and then clarify with a different deck. So the message that I'm getting for you is the silver screen and nostalgia. Death is coming out. So when I see death, this is the ending of something right here. The ending of life, the ending of a career, the ending of a situation within your life. Now, with that death and nostalgia energy that I was talking about, that silver screen energy, sometimes you have to understand that it's okay to be nostalgic, but understand you'll never go back to that energy again. All right? And it's important to realize that, say, for instance, the silent generation, which was in World War II, those people were born under the sign of Cancer. That generation is oftentimes romanticized within history, within movies, you know, the We'll Meet Again song, you know, the Darlings, what are they called? I forgot what they're called, but they wore the kind of like the pinup suits, and they had the makeup that was kind of like grayscale, and on black and white TV you saw the diamonds kind of, you know, glinting in the stage light, and it was like this beautiful, nostalgic, glamorous thing, right? Sometimes it's important to understand that you'll never go back to that mentality. You'll never go back to that time period. And sometimes that mentality and time period was not as perfect as it is portrayed, okay? Sometimes things are better to be left in history. But it's okay to look at history, but not to be overly consumed by that. So what's going on with this death energy for Cancer? What do we need to know? I'm going to be using the Revelations Tarot. This deck does have reversals in it. So we have the Temperance in reversed, we have the Eight of Cups in reversed, and we have the Nine of Wands upright. So what I'm seeing with this Temperance in reverse is that there's a situation that's not being alchemized at the right time. With the Eight of Cups, because it's not being alchemized at the right time, you want to walk away from it. Because you feel bruised and battered by the situation. You're not able to walk away from something. You're not able to understand a concept of something right here. You don't know why you need to walk away, but other than the fact that you should. Because something is not giving to you with this Temperance energy. Something is over. It's done with. And that's what you have to understand. The reason you're not receiving anything, you're not receiving any type of satisfaction or happiness from the situation anymore is because it's meant to be over. The Nine of Wands is that it feels painful to walk away from whatever this is. It's also the same thing of going back to simpler times. But those simpler times are over. Now, we could run away and we could, you know, go into our caves and try to live, you know, relive the past, relive old memories. But sometimes things have to end, no matter how painful they are, and sometimes you do have to walk away from them. I kind of feel like, in a weird way, with this Eight of Cups in reverse, Eight of Cups is upright, is you wanting to walk away from it. Eight of Cups in reverse is representation of, you know you should, but you don't want to. But as you're walking away, you're still thinking about it, and something's calling you back. It's like it's pulling you back into it. What is this Temperance energy? It's simpler. It's more alluring. It's more glamorous. It's whatever it is, you don't want to move away from it, but you know that you should. What's the Temperance energy? The Knight of Cups, the Hermit. It's a spirit. It's playing off of your emotional psyche. It's important to understand that, you know, during the World War II times, you know, those old movies, those old songs that people play, that old, you know, record sound, that scratching of the record sound, that, you know, I don't know how to explain it. If you've ever seen a World War II movie, a lot of that stuff was emotional propaganda. And you have to understand that that was something that was very studied during that time period, because Hitler was also studying that, was emotional propaganda. How to make people involved and enjoy this kind of concept. How to make people addicted to this weird nostalgia feeling of being stuck in the past. Because even when people progress into like the 50s and the 60s, they still look back at it. Even nowadays in 2022, people still look back on it. They still make movies about it. They're still romanticizing it because of the way that it was done. So maybe, in a way, you're trying to gain control over something. Maybe you're trying to gain control over a concept or an idea, and you need to study the past. Maybe that's what you're being called to do. Because the emotional manipulation tactics of the past were a lot better than what they were today. Today, because we have more of a dumbed down society, they can, put a picture of a model with a Brazilian butt job up there with, bikini on, and people will be polarized by that. Back then, when people had an education and they were, a little bit more advanced psychologically than we are, they had to, make do. Because of the Great Depression, they had to entertain themselves. They had to do things, when they were just bored. They had to find other stuff. They played piano, they played chess, they played cards, whatever. Their minds were more developed. That is what's important. That's the emotional manipulation right there. That it's something about that time period, that glamorous aspect of it, the way that it sounds, the way that it looks, the way that the women were, the way that the men were, the way that they sang. It pulls people in even nowadays, and maybe that's what you're trying to do, because you do rule the Queen of Cups, which is siren-like energy. Maybe that's the type of effect you're trying to give off. Maybe that's what you want to give off, or maybe what you should in order to gain control over a situation. Study that time period in depth for yourself. You have the Five of Cups, and you have the Magician. No use crying over spilled milk. Like, that time period is over, but there is magic behind it. There is a manipulation aspect behind it, okay? That's what people have to understand about, like, say, the Roaring 20s or the 30s or the 40s, is that there was something that more people were engaged with. Sorry, I'm trying to sit on this chair properly. Hold on. There we go. There was something about that time period people were more engaged with because it affected the psychological aspect a lot differently. That is where we actually got the concept of, say, the alpha male was around the 1930s. But what is the concept of the alpha male? A lot of people say that it's not really based in science. It's not really based in anything. That it's not really a thing. However, the concept of the alpha male is a very palatable way of saying someone who is a psychopath, but a psychopath that can be controlled. That's what people have to understand about the alpha male. Because when we look at, say, Hitler was studying the concept of Greek occultism, right? And within Greek occultism, they studied the dark triads of the face. They scryed a lot into the mirror. And when they scryed into the mirror, they could find and figure out the demonic side of a person. Some people have a natural demonic side to them, also known as the dark triads, and some people don't. However, by studying the dark triads of a face, by studying the way people looked into the mirror, by studying the self, they could see who was more psychopathic, who was more sociopathic, and who was a narcissist. These concepts were developed in the 1930s to go to war with the male who was capable of leading a group of people without the psychological aspect of being loved. All right? Without the need to make harsh decisions. They weren't going to make decisions based off of their emotions. They were going to make decisions based off of logic. That is the concept of the alpha male, right? Someone who is charismatic, capable of leading people, capable of doing things, capable of pushing people forward, capable of having all the girls around them, but at the same time not being someone who is that emotionally ingrained into something. Maybe that's what you're studying right here. Maybe you're falling or making these things and these concepts fall apart. Maybe that's what you have to understand about the new concept of the alpha male. This new concept that we have nowadays is like, a guy holding a shotgun with a hand on the Bible with his wife and their 2 kids. And, it's like God, country, and love kind of thing, right? That's all a manipulation tactic. To keep person who has those psychological problems, psychopath, narcissist, sociopath, whatever, to keep them in line with a societal state. And that's what's important for, us to understand, is that a lot of this stuff, a lot of these things that are just very palatable, these terms that are thrown around, actually are developed deeply within occultism. We have the hermit here to illuminate things to us. He is a master occultist, a ghost, a demon, someone who can give you the secrets of knowledge that you seek, right? Maybe you're drawn to this type of person. Maybe you are this type of person and you don't know why. You want to know why people call you an alpha male or why people say this or that about you. I feel like what you should do is you should study the psychology behind it. And the psychology is rooted within Greek occultism. So if you've ever heard that term thrown around, if you've ever been called that, if you've ever wondered why you just feel different, like why you're able to hold things together, how were you brought up? How are you trained? Are you one of those people who actually does care deeply, or do you not really care deeply? Or are you just told to feel something? So that's what's breaking the illusion right here. And when you break the illusion of who you are with this Nine of Wands right here, it feels like you're bruised and battered. It feels like you've been told a lie. It feels like whatever you've learned about yourself is not true. You have the Two of Swords because you can't see it, and the Page of Pentacles. You've been getting these small little pentacles here and there to keep you in line, to keep you from breaking free from the Two of Swords. We have the Death card coming out twice. The Eight of Cups coming up upright. And the Queen of Cups. Death to an old way of thinking, because you're realizing that the old way of thinking is hidden within its own mystery. And that same concept still applies. The same concept of calling people that, the same concept of, having alpha, beta, whatever. But here's the thing. There can only be one alpha male of the group. So if you see a bunch of guys calling each other alpha, there's still someone who's in charge of all of them, and they fall underneath the alpha and their betas, right? So who is the most psychopathic and the most narcissistic and the most sociopathic of this group of people? When people say that they are attracted to alpha males, a lot of them are really not attracted to the alpha males. They're attracted to his friends. They see a group of guys sitting out, like maybe 5 or 6 guys, and they're all, big buff, talking about slaying this, slaying that, oh, we have a lot of sex, whatever. Who is the one who is in charge of all of them? Are you the one who's in charge of all of them? Are you actually the naturally born leader? Why are you the naturally born leader? Because it takes a lot of kind of like psychological manipulation and emotional tactics to keep someone. And World War II videos, World War II aspects, is to keep that mind chained. So if you're one of those people who's been called an alpha male or considers yourself one, and you like the World War II aspect, it's because it's all psychological programming to keep you stuck within that state, to keep you more submissive and subdued to the actual structure of society, okay? And I know that that's a really weird concept, and I feel like you need to study that for yourself. The world. Completion. Judgment, being called to a new life. Because I kind of feel like for you, you're just going around in a circle. You're like, I have the wife, I have the kids, or I have the husband, I have the kids. Like, I'm doing everything. I'm making sure everyone's taken care of. I don't feel emotionally fulfilled. I don't feel emotionally satisfied. What am I doing wrong? What's going on? Why do I feel drawn to this time period? What's happening to me? Your wake-up call is now. Your wake-up call is to study something to bring you out of that mentality, to shatter the illusion and the perception that you have about yourself, okay? The Four of Pentacles, but you're not going to want to let it go. That's the problem, is you're going to still cling to certain things from the past, but understand that we don't live in that time period anymore. The way that that emotional manipulation tactic is still used, and the reason that it's still used, is to continue to keep people within that state, that structure, that, if there was ever a draft, these men would be called first. These people would be underneath these men, X, Y, and Z. That whole mentality, that whole structured system is to pinpoint exactly by the government who can be called for what. The Nine of Pentacles. The Three of Wands. The Four of Wands. Alpha people, the people who are under the deep psychological manipulation, they're usually well off. They have a garden, right? with this celebration, you're going to receive some sort of information right here that's going to allow you to celebrate. With alpha people, the information is very, very rare, something that doesn't want, because the whole point is not to celebrate. The whole point is to maintain a cool, collected head the entire time, right? People who don't really smile that much, people who aren't really that emotionally involved, people who are just kind of like, skim the surface level of everything. But you're going to have a message coming in that's going to make you happy. A message about kind of like financial wealth, about money. What is this message? The Tower. Something breaks apart. You're happy something breaks apart, though. You're happy in your garden that something is breaking apart. A message is coming in of something falling and destroying itself. And it gives you the victory. It's raining. The Hierophant. A victory over the Hierophant. So it's kind of like breaking the illusion within your mind right here. Because the key thing about the alpha mentality is not that it's not the same thing as being polite. That's the thing, okay? It is an actual structured mentality, and they usually pick these people out, when they're younger, like high school, sports, whatever, higher learning, and they kind of, emotionally give them not an easy ride. I'm not going to say it's an easy ride, but they're more selected and more capable of going to different schools, getting better opportunities, right? But I've also noticed within studying these people, they all like the same concept of World War II. They all like the glamorous effect, that smoke and mirrors, that haze, whatever. They're all polarized on it. But once again, that was the greatest time period of propaganda. That was the greatest time period of occultism. A lot of people they oftentimes forget this. In the 1800s, towards the early 1900s, the Apocrypha was still in the Bible. That wasn't until recently, like the 1950s, 60s, the Apocrypha was removed. So people still read the Apocrypha, which are the books of the Bible that were removed that, people say is evil. In the Victorian time period, towards the Edwardian time period, especially in like the teens and the 20s, those people loved seances and necromancy. And even in the late 1800s to the early 1900s, that was when, the Golden Dawn, the order of Hermeticism was at its peak. That's something that you have to understand right here, is that when people get caught up in that glamour and illusion, it's to capture those people's minds to be stuck on it. The smoke and mirror effect. Because once again, when you do the scrying, the dark triad information, whatever, you're stuck scrying into a mirror to see the dark triad traits. So that's what I'm seeing for you. I know that this kind of message is all over the place, and I don't know why it applies. Why does this apply to? Because temperance, something's coming out at the right time. Information is important for you. Something is here, and at the right moment, it will be given to you. The Empress. You'll understand something. You're going to understand something about the Empress. You're going to understand something about your country, your world. Your perception, your illusion of it will be shattered with this Hierophant energy. But you'll still have victory over it. The Nine of Cups, you're going to have a wish come true. A wish come true right here. Maybe that's what you've always wanted to know about yourself. And once again, the alpha male personality is not the peaked in high school personality, the fast talker, the people who claim to be so, because those people, they're not that. What I'm talking about are the people who suffered in silence, the Cancerian generation, the people of the 1940s, the 30s, 40s people who were born into that time period, or people who were ruled by that time period. B, community, ants, cooperation, snake, rebirth. Here's the thing. B, community is actually a very Masonic card. In the Freemason Society, there is a symbol called the beehive, where everyone has a social order, where the queen sits at the top, kind of like the Empress. The ant, cooperation, where everyone cooperates and does things because there is that social hierarchy. But with the snake, You're going to have that social hierarchy fall down and have a rebirth for yourself and say, I'm no longer this person. I want to be free. I want to be happy. Okay? It's kind of like, how can I say this? I don't really want to go into that. It's nothing really important. It's a completely different topic, but maybe I'll save it for something else. I'll save it for a different video, but it'll be like, a collective reading. But you'll have this rebirth for yourself. Maybe this is what you want for someone else. Maybe this is what you want for you. Why do you feel so drawn to that? That time period is occultic, and you're ruled by the moon. You're ruled by Hecate, which is occultism. Okay? The Greek goddess of the occult. The Greek goddess of black magic, and the pharmakia, which is the Greek terminology for the occult, or black magic. The snake. The snake could be the rod of Asclepius, the symbol of medicine, or the staff of the Sadducees, which is the symbol for the occult. The staff of the Sadducees, a lot of people don't realize that, is that in certain religions, if you're brought back to life by someone who wears the staff of the Sadducees, you'll be excommunicated, as opposed to someone who's brought back by someone wearing the rod of Asclepius, because they believe people who wear their staff of the Sadducees are necromancers, because that is the symbol of black magic. That is the symbol of necromancy. People need to get that through their heads, all right? Even the CDC has come out and said, and I've talked about it before in one of my other videos, the CDC has said that the symbol, the rod of Asclepius, is the actual symbol for medicine. People oftentimes get it confused with the staff of the Sadducees. You have inspiration, you have truth. Inspiration and truth coming out right here. Because you have the truth, there is a new life for you. Because you have this truth, because you're able to break out of this. Maybe this is something that you want to do for yourself. Maybe you have to go into this to attract a real alpha. Maybe that's what you have to understand. Maybe that is, I actually don't really like that time period. I like the neutron type period. People have the edgy haircuts and riding around on speed bikes. That's pretty cool to me. I don't really like that time period, but I find it fascinating to study that time period because that is the peak of magic. It's a very fascinating time period, I'm not gonna lie. The late 1800s to the early 1900s to about the 1940s range. Even when you get into Project Monarch, CIA mind control experiments, which happened in the 70s, 80s, it's still not as good as this time period right here. Anyway, maybe that's something that you have to understand if you want to attract someone. If you want to draw these people in, you have to have that type of, look about you. You have to kind of look like that pinup. You have to kind of look like that very mysterious mystique energy. So what's going on with this integration? Integrating this type of magic into yourself, maybe this type of symbolism, maybe it's all about symbolism. Okay? Masculine and feminine. Maybe you have a traditional sense of marriage. Maybe you have a male should be a male, a woman should be a woman. Maybe that's kind of what you're feeling right here. But if you want that to happen, if you want that kind of relationship, you're going to have to look at the occultism behind it. What programs people to be that way? Fehe, cattle. Success, abundance, opportunity, earned wealth, good fortune, fulfillment, growth, expansion. Gebo, gift, success, union, happiness, obligation, spiritual meaning, karma, and inner equilibrium. Your talisman card is Wonjo, joy and happiness, harmony and partnerships, positive family relations, and good teamwork. I already pulled those. What am I missing? Oh. I'm missing these. Jack-o'-lantern, protection. Zombie, control. Once again, zombie is about releasing control. The zombie is that people are under mind control, and you have to release the concept of necromancy. Okay? Not being a zombie to the necromancer. Remember, during that time period, necromancy, the spirit speaking, even tarot is a form of necromancy. Ouija board is a form of necromancy. ancestral, like, ancestral talking is a form of necromancy. Like, all that stuff is necromancy. Whether you want to view it that way or not, that's what the actual terminology is. Now, cartomancy is the main form of tarot. However, tarot falls, this form of cartomancy falls under necromancy. So, jack-o'-lantern protection, you're protected from this, okay? Maybe this is something that, you know, it glamorizes you. Maybe you've always wondered why. Maybe you've always considered yourself an alpha male or whatever, but you've always felt drawn to this. Why do you feel that way? Because it's specifically catered to the mindset of someone who has the dark triad traits, who's able to be controlled, who's able to, you know, think logically, function logically within a society, but needs to be in a subdued kind of like box. So anyway, Cancer, I know that this is like a weird reading. I don't know why this came out, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.